And our scene is set in the church of St. Augustine. Once again, it is night. The city is alight with the movement of kine going to and fro. Among them, the kindred walk unseen, wolves intermingled with the sheep. At the church of St. Augustine's, the sheep gather. They know they have sinned. This town, this state, this way of life is full of sin and vice. And so they come at night to confess their sins, to confess their torments, their burden, their guilt. And the wolf who listens to them is all too happy to pardon them, for he knows sin and guilt as well. All they need do is take his hand. After all, that is why he designed that slot in the confession booth. All they need do is take his hand, and he can absolve them of their sins, of their guilt. Sometimes it is a deeply spiritual moment. Sometimes the people feel nothing at all. In others, they feel a rapture, an ecstasy they cannot describe. But the Father, the wolf, in priest's clothing, ensures them that they are in need of penance, that this is necessary, and he warns them that if they go out into the night and continue to sin, then they will be back here again, and he will be waiting for them. And so the cycle has continued for years on end. This night, the Father finishes feeding. He blesses the individual, tells them to say Hail Marys before bed, to abstain from their vice. After all, this is one of the recurring ones. He knows they won't listen. They keep coming back. And so, with his business done, he has his ghoul close down the church. His ghoul, too, is a penitent man. But he has learned to overcome his vice, and it's something that he battles daily, and the Father respects him for that. That is why he has the position he does. That is why the wolf has chosen this particular sheep. And who knows what the future may hold for him. Perhaps someday he too shall shed his wool to reveal a wolf underneath as well. But that is not for this night, and possibly for a very, very long time. Tonight, the Father retreats to the church below, the night church, night chapel, the dark mirror to the church above, and is there in his study that he sits. He fidgets. There's paperwork that still needs to be done, plans to be moved, people to be moved. There's still so much to be done to ensure that this city becomes the city he had always imagined, born from the ashes. But there is still so much to be done, so much sin and vice to uproot, so many, many sinners to track, so many crimes to bring to justice. Speaking of crimes, the crimes of Dietrich Graves weigh heavily upon his unbeating heart. Would he do the same? He knows the answer. That is why this next thing is so difficult for him to do. As he opens the drawer to the desk he is sitting at, he pulls forth two letters, blank. He pauses for a moment, and then reaches in and grabs a third. He begins to write on the first letter. Dear Masters of the Coalition, heirs to the lost legacies of yore, I write to you as Prince Ricardo Alvarez and as the Archdeacon of Reno, Nevada, voice of the Red Saints, and honorary, honored, honorable, honorable member of the theocracy. I write bad tidings. One of your own has transgressed against my city and the traditions. Dietrich Graves, a neonate Cappadocian, has not only insulted his betters, but he has also conspired to take property that does not belong to him. And if that were not all, his research into matters of the occult, into matters of death, have brought forth a malicious shade that now preys upon the populace of my city. This creature of wrath spreads chaos, torment to all it encounters, and it seems to be bound to this Cappadocian's ghoul. All of these weigh heavy upon his soul, and for that I have passed judgment on him, giving him the chance to absolve his spirit, although his crimes are beyond rapport. He shall either be exiled from my city, or he shall be put to final death. He now works with the members of my newest orders to track down the shade, and whether or not he succeeds in banishing it to the nether realm from which it was summoned or not will determine his very existence. But the situation has become more complicated. Upon delving deeper into his studies, we'd uncovered the shocking information that the ritual he used belonged to the Giovanni family, those foul necromancers who brought ruin to the once great clan Cappadocian. But of course, you know how that story goes. What has fallen is great again, and the Giovannis are but whispers on the wind. But their foul research still haunts us. Worse still is that he knowingly used this ritual incomplete. That is why I write this to you now, for as per the Theocracy's agreement with the Balefire Coalition, any information regarding House Tremere and the Giovanni family will be turned to you immediately, and those who are caught experimenting using their foul research without the express permission from the Balefire Coalition are subject to your authority. However, the rule of the prince's law, and therefore I write this letter to see what will you have me do that is still within the rulings that I have made. If it is exile, shall you take him in, take him to another city, educate him as to why the now forbidden art of necromancy is so dangerous? Or, if his fate is death, shall I hand him over to you so at least it shall be done in-house, as proper? I eagerly await your response, for I am not the only one who is interested in the fate of our young friend. My seneschal, Aventru, has taken a particularly keen interest in him, and for reasons I do not quite know. Perhaps he is envious of the research he has done, and if that is the case, it worries me. This man is, of course, Aventru, and they are used to getting what they want. And I fear he may try something. Please respond to this letter as soon as you can. I will do my best to ensure the sanctity of our young friend Dietrich Graves' soul, and ensure that he is given a fair chance at redeeming himself in the face of the court, so that way he will have the dignity to leave with his head held high, instead leave this world with it removed. Sincerely, Prince Ricardo Alvarez. With that, he folds the letter, puts it in an envelope, pulls forth a seal, a wax seal. It is made with a very specific ingredient. Taking the emblem of the Nox theocracy, he seals the envelope, and then he moves on to the next. Dear Orion, I hope you are doing well. It has been quite some time since our last communication. I hope the city is treating you well. I do not envy you in your position for having to live not only amongst enemies surrounding you, but also in such a necessary isolation. And if there's anything I can do to help, do not hesitate to ask. The money has been sent. I hope it is enough for you to continue to live in peace and continue your great research. In regards to that, I have great news. A Cappadocian in my city uncovered a Giovanni ritual. Not only that, he was able to use it to bring a kine who had died back to life. It came at the cost of summoning a malicious shade, which we are now in the process of exorcising from this plane of existence. But such power, could it be possible to bring kindred back to life as well? This could be our chance, Orion, the chance to avenge ourselves, to avenge that which had been wronged, to restore the circle, and return things to the way they shall be. I will continue to look after this Cappadocian, but in order to ensure his survival, this shade must be banished. If you happen to have any knowledge on these creatures, these nether beings, please let me know. We will need as much help as we can get in order to fulfill our mutual goal. As always, your benefactor. He seals this letter. Normally, it is unmarked, almost indistinguishable from a normal letter. The last letter is the hardest to write, but heavy is the head upon which rests the crown. Dear Mary, I hope you are doing well. Your trip to Reno seems to be indefinitely on delay, and that saddens me. I was very much looking forward to talking to you again. It has been many years since we last saw each other. I hope you are doing well. I've met Kent. He is exactly as you described, and I have done my best to keep an eye on him. But he is exactly as you've described. He does seem to be getting along with the rest of the Toreador of the city, had them marching to his tune, or was it the other way around? However, the city is in dire straits. We are besieged by supernatural threats all around us. Not only that, but our enemies move on the outskirts of sight. Not only that, but within the city we are now plagued by a spectre of some kind, brought forth by an unfortunate Cappadocian who was willing to pay the ultimate price to save someone he loves. Isn't it ironic? The most human act is the one that will doom him in our society. There are many worse things to do, but in the name of love, it's almost tragic. I hope that we'll be able to speak again soon. I do not know whether you intend to continue your trip or not, but I am low on friends here, and in all honesty, you are the only one left alive. I will pray for you and your continued rise to power in the theocracy. As always, your friend. He considers throwing the letter away once it is written. He really does. If this letter fell into the wrong hands, well, that is the price for trying to remain human after all. The scene pans away from the wolf in priest's clothing as he sits alone in the shadow of the church. And our scene ends. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful night.